Now he knows that he doesn't have anything else to ignite a fire, but he hopes that he will make it possible with his skip skill. For a while he is trying hard to ignite the fire and uses the skip skill continuously. Slowly the atmosphere is getting warm and the snow around them starts to melt. Afterwards the warm atmosphere turns hot and the snow melts over a larger area. He gets a warning that his actions are making the ruler of the snow mountain angry. However, he is claimed to be unfazed by anyone's anger anymore because all he wants is to have some fire to combat the cold. The fire finally ignites, which makes the so-called Kraken quite happy and warms the area around them. Go see the snow melt. The ruler of the mountain himself feels startled to see the ground earlier than expected. Now, it looks at our player and shouts for him to stop. On the other hand, our dude is quite unfazed by the voice and wishes he might have ignited the fire a little earlier while the ground around him is burning. Suddenly, the Kraken points out the change in the terrain style around them, which is shown because of the snow melting. Not only this, our lucky player unknowingly awakens a number of skills due to his action of igniting the fire and repeating his skip skill. These skills include fire ignition, which turns into the arson skill now. He also gets the information regarding the flood in the lower village caused by him, which he royally ignores. He wonders why this game doesn't have a middle ground. To answer his question, his cute little son tries to explain that he himself doesn't have a middle ground and mess things up. He says with relief that still no one is harmed, and this is enough. Meanwhile, in the lower mountain village, players are drowned because of the flood. On the other hand, our hero is pondering his skip skill, as he can skip many situations that normal users can't. So he decides to use this skill for staking. He then turns to his viewers and asks them for feedback, likes, and subscriptions. At that moment, suddenly the same boss monster appears in the air. Instead of being scared, our dude bravely opens its mouth and checks the quest item inside it. He thinks it must be him because he is using the skip skill unknowingly while pondering over his skip skill. Then he challenges the monster to use its dragon breath in order to provoke it, which ignites its anger and breaths fire. However, our dude still handles the situation and grips its neck with his legs. Then he starts to beat it furiously because he might fall from the sky because of the monster's stunt. While beating it, he also uses his skip skill multiple times. With that, he gets another skill called Swift Counter, which now turns into Flame Swift Counter because of his repeated action. With his constant beating, finally the monster throws him toward the ground. To counter it, he attacks with his new skill of Flame Swift Counter while he is still in the air. After successfully attacking and injuring the monster, he can now use this swift counter with a heated palm. Then he finally rides the monster, and his son can see how he is rushing toward the ground. Afterwards, he has a cool landing on the ground while asking his subscribers whether they enjoyed the fight and pointed out that it was easy though. He starts to laugh menacingly, but his laugh stops when he spots the monster standing once again. He comments that it is alive because it is the boss, but it should be dead with a good camera angle. Then he looks at the innocent face of the monster and confirms that it is someone for which they have come here. Finally, he burns it with his arson skill in order to end the quest. After a while, the monster melts down, leaving an ice flower in its place. He guesses that it might be the quest item and thinks with annoyance how all games are the same, when he looks back and ponders which way he should go. First, he considers taking the lower path with a good camera angle, but he worries his viewers might get bored with this typical route. Then he thinks about a comfortable way to get back. Suddenly, his solution comes in the form of a skip skill, and he immediately presses the button. With this latest skip, he suddenly sees knights before him, one of whom has his ice flower and suggests how to take care of the next mission and items. Besides, they also mention finding the secrets of the kingdom's items, which begins something new. Now he is first baffled by their purpose for being there. Then he shouts at them how they should at least tell him that it is a linked quest, but they don't listen to him and leave. At that, he shouts with frustration about how he is going to do the next quest. Somewhere else, someone is watching his stream with a nervous expression. This is another rising streamer with beauty and brains. While looking at his stream, she wonders whether he is a good editor or a good player. She even compliments him for catching both the Kraken and the Ice Demon before anyone else. Then she looks at the grim face of the #1 ADC player and plans to meet with him naturally as she knows the location of him now. After a while, he goes to the town with a tired expression because he can't just use skip skills to cover the distance. He is also frustrated at the game not explaining anything about its system, while forgetting his own mistake of skipping tutorials. Then he looks at the people outside the village who have just faced the flood and wonders why they look like they have fought a war. Afterward, he spots some people gathered around something or someone. He looks closely and finds it's a woman whom everyone is showering with gifts and money. She tries to pretend with a huge smile on her face that she's just passing by and expresses her amazement at how they managed to find her. While accepting the gifts and money from her admirers, she adds with a smile that she will surely accept their gifts and return them later. This woman is none other than Sun Oh-kyung. She is a newcomer ADC player who is growing rapidly because of her skill and outstanding, beautiful looks. That's why he also subscribes her. While looking closely, he realizes what exactly she is doing. With a red hue on his face, he looks away because he is working hard to increase his viewers, while she stands there receiving gifts without much efforts. His son of Kraken reminds him that he is behind the fire and flood. However, his mind is occupied by the unfair treatment from viewers toward him and her because of her beauty, so he goes ahead to complete a quest to distract himself from the bitterness. But she doesn't plan to let him go silently, so she rushes to him and pretends to be happy to see him there. She first stops to notice his gloomy expression, then shakes it off and asks why he isn't playing the ADC character since he is without the bow. He fumbles that he is going to work on his achievement. But the clever girl interjects by saying that if he is not playing as ADC, then he should introduce her channel to his subscribers, who might not be interested in his content now. With fury, he now understands her intention for calling him. On the other hand, she shamelessly asks for collaboration as well, but he ignores her and goes in another direction since he is busy. With a grumpy expression, he is determined to unsubscribe from her when he has time. Meanwhile, his nonchalant attitude and blatant rejection of her offer infuriates her beyond measure. With anger, she exclaims that even though he thinks himself something big, but their audience will soon see that she will find the item, not him. With that, she logs out. After watching her vanish, he doesn't understand why everyone keeps challenging him, especially when they are the ones who have done wrong. On the other hand, Oh-kyung's crazy fans are beyond frustrated to see her log out. Now they all point fingers at our guy, while assuming he did something to her. As confirmation, they are informed about a post in which she tells her fans that she is taking a break because of his bad behavior towards her. Now everyone turns to him with animosity in their eyes, deciding to beat him for his behavior. Meanwhile, our boy is totally clueless about their actions against him and wonders whether he has skipped something again. Anyway, he is ready to defend himself, though he is weaponless. Some of the crazy fans rush at him because he has committed the great sin of offending their beloved Oh-kyung. He tries to reason with them, while explaining that she's just made an excuse to take a break, so they shouldn't start a fight with him. All the while, he attempts to attack them with his arson skill. At that moment, his system updates his arson skill to igniting fire, which is hotter than before. Besides, he also gets a decent sword randomly thrown at him. The fans are challenging him to return their dear Oh-kyung to them, filled with rage. Meanwhile, he is also ready to tackle them now that he has a weapon. He then attacks them with a wild swing, which skill level is at 99. Seeing his badass moves, the viewers change their opinion of him and decide to give him a chance during the stream. With that, all of them run away. Afterward, he spots some knights and worries that he might get arrested because of the recent fight he had, which could ruin his content. Instead, the knights politely greet him, as they were actually looking for him, which brings him relief. He wonders happily what is going on now. At that moment, he sees a skip option, which he happily accepts. Immediately, he is transported into a palace. Before he can understand anything, he sees a chubby, gluttonous king sitting on a large throne, while thanking him for saving their country. The king also adds that he has obtained the ice flower after defeating the ice dragon, which proves his potential to be a great warrior. To sense his expression, the king requests him to say something, as he shouldn't be the only one carrying the conversation, while ignorant of the creepy feeling our dude is having upon seeing him. However, his question makes our player happy, and he immediately asks about the onion which he had received. Seeing this, the king smiles and responds that it is the heart of the warrior. According to them, the onion is similar in both shape and metaphorical meaning to the heart of a warrior. It symbolizes the effort of the previous warrior, and its layers represent the trials heroes usually go through. With a terrified expression, he thinks about how absurd this long explanation is. With that, he decides to skip it. Afterwards, a chest is brought in front of him, in which the king claims to have a reward for him in the form of gold. The mere mention of gold makes our greedy hero's mouth water, and he immediately asks about the quantity of the gold. But the king is quite clever, so he points out that our dude happens to be in every area that has recently flooded. He remembers the floods and nervously explains that they occurred while he was completing the task, because such damage happens during quests like this. The king laughs at his explanation and he feels relieved. He then instantly tries to open the box, but one of the officials points out that they need to calculate the damage caused by the floods. At that, Doogie insists that he must check the gold first, but the official also wants to calculate. First, They argue for a while, but when M skipped, Master realizes the officer is going to read the whole contract, he dreads it and decides to skip it. After